I have with me Valerie Mercer-Blackman, who is a regional economic advisor for the Caribbean Country Department at the Inter-American Development Bank, and Joel Harris. He is the managing director, yes, of Shavuot, is it? Shavuot International. All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. Let me start with you. Mrs. Blackman, Mercer-Blackman, you've obviously seen the situation across the region, yeah? And what are some of the most effective monetary and fiscal policies that you've seen that can drive export growth in other economies? And what lessons do you think we in the Caribbean can learn?
So the most important thing to drive economic growth and export growth is to create an environment, a stable environment. Yeah. So that means that monetary policy has to worry about its particular objectives, which of course is to maintain low and stable inflation. That will also help lower costs for business. Fiscal policy, in addition to having a sustainable debt and at least going in that direction, also has to have a tax system that is predictable, that is stable, that doesn't have a lot of distortion. Some people have paid different taxes than others, that sort of situation, and that it also can use some of the agencies not only to create for example, public-private partnerships, create the public investment that will give you the roads and the bridges and everything that will actually lower costs for business, but also can create incentives. For example, having an investment promotion agency, making it easier to export through trade facilitation. So a lot of the tools that we know have worked and have worked in many countries, and that basically create a predictable and stable environment for investments is the way to go.
And Jamaica has been on that journey, trying to achieve that. What specific steps do you think we as a country can take to improve our global competitiveness and strengthen the export sector?
So I think Jamaica has been doing, as you alluded to, there's been an absolutely historic consolidation of the debt, which continues to decrease. And as we say, we have the debt to GDP ratio, which is what we watch out for a lot. Now we have to work on the denominator. We have to work on raising the GDP. Some of it will come naturally because you've already sort of created the institutional quality, and by that you're signaling to investors that you're sort of open for business. So some of that will come a little bit more naturally. There are other things that what we sort of consider sector types of policies that could improve competitiveness within certain sectors where we're already where Jamaica already is working, like tourism and business services to possibly new ones. So and that's where I think a lot of the public investment strategies, the predictability for investors, all of the different things that could create a stable environment. One possibility, IDB actually, we're working with IB Invest, this idea of a logistics hub, which is basically a special economic zone in which you can sort of ring fence the types of conditions that you know are going to be good for businesses, which could include, for example, the technical assistance, training and the skills for people that are working in those. We know that a lot of the firms in Jamaica have said that they need more skilled labor, so that would be one way to do it. And also, of course, looking for markets and the types of activities. In new activities, maybe digital services, where Jamaica could have a comparative advantage.
Yeah, I'm told Joel Harris has sort of cracked the code. That's what I'm told. So for those who may not be familiar with your company, give us an overview and some of the markets internationally that you serve.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure about cracking the code, but thank you for that. So Shavuot International is our authentic Jamaican company that specializes in herbal teas, dried spices, and other value-added products sourced right from Jamaican land and soil. Our main markets are across Europe, North America, and the Caribbean, our main focus has been more intensively between North America and the Caribbean, especially also at home as well. So those have been our main markets.
And what are some of the challenges you find in servicing those markets?
Well, as you recently globally knows, is the recent taxes of that 10% import tariff duty that was implemented under the recent administration in America, and that has created a bit of a volatile situation for most players. No, for us, we are truly grateful that we were not significantly impacted. I do know that there was a suspension of that 10% for about 6 months, I believe, and it had collapsed or concluded of May this year. And so far, we have benefited from the suspension, and we have seen where our distributors overseas have not been woefully impacted by that scenario, but they have projected and put in cautionary and protective measures in place. Now, because of that, other free trade agreements that now becomes much more important, such as the CARICOM free trade agreement, especially the EPAs, UK and Europe, EU is even much more beneficial because now we don't have that tariffs coming into those countries as opposed to the 10% going into the US. And the nearshoring of opportunities have greatly creating opportunity, has really impacted us in such a way that we can now say to foreign investment, hey, we are in a better zone to take and receive your investments because we can either get you closer to a particular trading partnership that you want to get into, or into a regional group that we're benefiting from our current trade agreements.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Joel, are there any local economic policies that you think have aided your ability to compete internationally, or are there any policies that you think are missing that you think would assist in competing internationally?
Okay, great. There are numerous of economic policies and reforms that has happened within Jamaica. Just to name a few, like SC zones, especially economic zones, that's been vibrant culture.
Right.
The product input relief policy that allows for manufacturers to reclaim back on the inputs that they import, and of course tax exemptions from the imports of inputs for production. So we have utilized all trade and economic policies that are geared to help us, but from the few that we use, especially the input relief, allows us to mitigate the additional expenses of putting into the raw material, into the packaging, into our products that will then be produced to export. The stabilization of the dollar by the DBJ has helped a bit, somewhat, and there have been speculations as to how that would affect local companies. But however, the economic policy has happened for trade and growth, especially through BSOs like JAMPRO, who have been a valiant effort, especially the JMEA, who has been a champion for MSMEs like ourselves. So those initiatives, the infrastructures with the BSOs, the input reliefs, has helped us a lot.
Mrs. Mercer-Blackman, from your perspective, is there any single important thing or policy or determinant that you think you could point to and say, yes, that would assist a country's export competitiveness?
I think it's difficult from the point of view of a policy. As I said, there's definitely a predictable, stable and predictable situation, environment. Stable and predictable environment would be the only one. Of course, that is a little broader. There's no, I haven't found the secret ingredients, but
there's no magic one.
There's no magic one, but which is why really a lot of the policies have to work in tandem. And sometimes it's difficult because it takes time to get there, right? And we've been receiving so many shocks, from COVID shock to the shooting, the sharp increase in commodity prices in 2022. and then I'm surely there will be another shock. We're also dealing with climate change shocks, Hurricane Beryl last year in the case of Jamaica. So sometimes I think we have to step back and congratulate ourselves on how well we've actually done in the face of these shocks, and that it has built resilience. So I think that's really, if the government, if the private sector working with the government can continue as much as possible to, learn from these things how they can be done better, and continue sort of on that deepening reforms and looking now more towards growth, that will lead to this sort of stable environment that's going to help propel export growth.
Yeah. On that point of the private sector, I wondered if you had any thoughts on how financial institutions like Sterling Asset Management can contribute to that regional resilience, that kind of resilience that you just talked about, and help our economies or regional economies navigate the kind of shocks that we're seeing globally.
Right. So, of course, actually asset management is very important. It creates buffers, not just for individuals, but for governments, which will allow them to work. I know that there's a lot of, in the case of disaster risk, the Jamaica government has been very successful in creating special types of instruments which, insure against certain risks and create hedging. So having these sorts of something like Sterling Financial Management that can really work to help diversify risk and really channel the financial system properly is very helpful in that regard. And including, for example, if we do run into a shock, for example, the central bank wants to put liquidity in the system, but it really needs the banks and the financial sector to help sort of move that along in the rest of the financial and the rest of the economy.
Yeah, and Joel, finally to you. If there are entrepreneurs who are, listening, watching, and want to branch out, but they say, boy, I'm nervous because the environment is so volatile, it's so uncertain, what would you say to them?
Take a chance. Everything has to deal with risk assessment. And risk assessment is the ability to assess favorable or unfavorable conditions that allows you to move forward or to stay or to pivot. But I would say that fear should not be the reason that prevents you from doing something. It has to be sound decision choices that shows you a direct ROI on your investment, on your strategy, what the trade in shift policies and trade in economic zones and trade in partnerships has taught us is that we do not have to primarily rely on one market source to become sustainable. There are other market opportunities from non-traditional means that can give you even better upside because of the times that we're in than we would have traditionally thought before. So because of that, I would say to any person, seize the opportunity, invest wisely with sound decision making, and look for unique strategies to maintain that lead.
Yeah, that sounds like sound advice to me. Joel Harris, Valerie Mercer-Blackman, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
That sounds like sound advice. A lot of times people are nervous, they're cautious, they're hesitant, and of course, in this volatile environment, I can't say I blame you. Yeah, but you heard it there. Take the chance. Yeah, take the chance.